Motion to open? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, welcome again. Nice to see some teachers here and some parents, so yay. Coming out on this cold evening. I think Father Winter is here. Okay, so we'll start our meeting off this evening with K-12. Anthony?
Yes, I'm going to ask that our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Learning, Mr. Trombley, come up, and he'll be presenting tonight with regards to our K-5 math program and our reading program, but not just K-5, but what we're doing on a district level. So, Mr. Trombley, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Good evening, Board of Education members and the community. Before I get started, I do have some great news to share. I'm pleased to report that Lakeview physical education teacher, Mr. Don Tobin, has been selected as the SHAPE America Eastern District Elementary Physical Education Teacher of the Year. This prestigious award also enables Mr. Tobin to be considered for the National Elementary Physical Education Teacher of the Year, which will be selected and announced in April. Mr. Tobin is currently going through the application process, which involves videotaping his instructional lessons and a detailed application packet. And of course, Mr. Tobin is being supported by his building principal, Lakeview, Mrs. Pontello. So I wanted to share that before we get started. Very proud day for Mr. Tobin and for Manhattan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trombley. And just a footnote on that, not only Mr. Tobin, but in our December board meeting, we have a lot of celebrations that are taking place, and I'll talk about that during my superintendent's report. So thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask two individuals who have put a lot of work into our alignment and creating coherent curriculum to come join me tonight. We're going to, fortunately for the audience, I'll be doing most of the speaking. So if I could ask Mr. Brian Gilligan and Ms. Sharon Foreman to join me. We will be discussing, and I apologize for the topic tonight. I realize an area of professional growth for me is to come up with better titles. Last week, you may remember the title was the 3th grade assessment update. This week, reflecting our mission, our vision statement, we're calling this presentation Ensuring Every Student Acquires the Skills and Knowledge. And that's where we ground ourselves in this presentation, talking about coherent creation and alignment of our curriculum. The objective of tonight's presentation is to update the Manpack educational community on efforts and actions to ensure coherent and aligned curriculum K-12. And when we discuss curriculum tonight, we're talking about all the educational experiences that our learners have in Manpack. And when combined with instruction, with assessment, we have what we refer to as the formal learning process. The district is in its early stages of developing a strategic plan, which will guide the actions and the intentions of the district over the next few years. And as you can see here, a main objective of this strategic plan addresses student learning. This presentation will highlight efforts to ensure a cohesive K-12 approach to our teaching and learning environments. And we discussed when we have curriculum paired with instruction and assessment, that is what we as educators refer to as the learning process. Curriculum is focuses on what the students will be able to learn based upon agreed upon or established goals. Instruction is how teachers will design experiences to help students reach those established goals. And assessment is how we measure students' progress towards those established goals. Curriculum alignment is a process for recording what content and skills are actually taught in the classroom over a period of time. And it's actually the data that's provided within that gives us an overview of our entire program rather than a daily record of what occurs in the classroom. Curriculum alignment provides the basis for sharpening and focusing our curriculum to ensure a consistent and cohesive experience for all of our children. It allows us to connect to agreed upon standards, which could include local, state, and national expectations. And we also, in curriculum alignment, we ensure that all instructional components, including the content that we address, the skills that we hope our students to demonstrate, and our assessments and activities and resources are all meaningful towards our overall vision of what our students should be achieving. Furthermore, curriculum alignment and the review of that curriculum, once aligned, allows us to gain information, replace repetition with the spiraling of classroom experiences, and also allows us to analyze gaps in our learning that we plan for our students, and to integrate curricular connections between disciplines and classrooms. When we talk about the work that's being done across the district, we're going to highlight some of the fantastic efforts done by Ms. Foreman and Mr. Gilligan in terms of our K-12 math committee and our K-5 writing committee respectively. Now, in addition to the work that they will highlight in their aspects of this presentation, we do also have other areas of alignment taking place throughout the district. In particular, we're in the early stages of a pilot program in our elementary schools looking at the Columbia Teacher College units of study in our reading program. The pilot's in its very early stages, and as we go through this pilot, it will help us to gain data on what may need to be considered from a curricular, a budgetary, and a logistical standpoint if the district finds that there's value in this program. Finally, a balanced curriculum also involves social, emotional, and cultural and climate aspects of the student's experience. There is early thought being given to the possibility of finding and articulating coherence across our PBIS programs across each building. April Umich is actually considering exploring that opportunity as we head into this school year. So I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Sharon Foreman, who will give you an update on our K-12 math program. Ms. Foreman serves as our K-12 instructional coach and also the 6-12 department chair. After her presentation, we will ask Mr. Gilligan to talk about efforts in our K-5 writing programs.
This is going to fall. Yeah. Mr. DiCarlo, Board of Ed, community, teachers, friends, colleagues, thank you so much for actually giving us this opportunity to discuss math tonight and our curriculum. Truly, truly, truly appreciate it. For those of you that don't know me, I think the majority of you do. I'm Sharon Foreman. I've been in the district about 32 years now. K-12 math coach, instructional support, math department chair, 6 to 12. So again, thank you very, very much for this time. So let's talk about what's been done, and let's look at the high school level because that's where I was for the most part. As you know, the Common Core was implemented in the school year 2012-2013, K through 8, and at that time I was an algebra teacher and department chair for mathematics. The Common Core obviously was rolled out K through 8, the following year algebra, the year after that geometry, and then algebra 2. I can explain firsthand what it was like to be a teacher as the Common Core was rolled out. As an algebra teacher on the team, we met before school, during school, after school, sometimes from 3 to 5, and in the summer, just to make sure that our curriculum was aligned, that we had a scope and sequence, that we had common assessments, that we had common lessons, and that was just year 1. At the end of year 1, we said, we need a lot of work. So we realized, even though we put in hours, we needed to revise, edit, and improve our instruction, our assessments, our curriculum. So year 2, guess what? We did it all over again. We met before school, during school, after school, and once a week we met from 3 to 5, and fortunately at times in the summer to do curriculum writing. As a department chair, I can explain that 6 to 12, our teachers did the exact same thing. They're in the same building, they met under preps, they met under lunch, they met after school, just to make sure that they were implementing the standards. I can say firsthand, 3 to 6 years later, our high school curriculum is in a really great place. So it did not happen overnight, no way, shape, or form. The teachers spent hours and days just making sure our curriculum was aligned. If we look at our K through 5, yes, we had to align 6 to 12, but we knew we had to align our K to 5 curriculum as well. So last year, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me this opportunity to work with the K to 5 teachers. Truly, and some of them are here today, they're supporting Brian, but they're going to support me too. So, just an amazing opportunity to look at our math curriculum K through 12. Phenomenal opportunity. Last year, we created a math committee in which we had one teacher per building, per grade level on the committee. We met almost every month, and the committee, they wrote a scope and sequence. They created a benchmark for all of our students to take, and we actually have a curriculum website. Let me see if it's linked. There's this touch screen. So I think you saw this site last year. It's the Maypac Elementary Math Curriculum. And again, we made this site, the math committee, this is a 100% live document, work in progress. It even changed today because we have a meeting today. So it's constantly being changed. But we have an overview. So every teacher, no matter what grade you teach, can pull this up and they can look to see what's being taught in the grade above and the grade below. So the overview is right there. I can pull this up right here. We also have a curriculum. So every teacher in every building, depending on your grade level, you just find your folder. Can I pull this down? So we actually have, if you pull up one of the folders, we have it by grade and we have it by curriculum. So your scope and sequence is there, your vocabulary is there, the stanzas are there, and your common benchmarks are there. So everything is right there for all of our teachers. Not only did the committee work endless hours to create a scope and sequence, they also stepped out of their comfort zone into what we call coaching days. And you're saying, it's a coaching day. Is what we do is the math committee, let's look at a third grade teacher. If we were to go to Lakeview, the third grade teachers from the other two buildings would come to the classroom, the teacher would teach a lesson, they would observe the lesson, but you know what, we have amazing teachers, and they didn't just sit there and observe the lesson. They jumped right in with the teacher and worked with all of our students. They ran a station, they questioned our students, and it's a true community, and that came through loud and clear. After the lesson was done, we took time to debrief the lesson, to really say, what's working, what's not working, what can we improve on, what are best practices that you're going to take back to your classroom, and everybody learned something, and it was a win-win situation. So we're going to continue those coaching days as well. At the end of last year, since it was my first year in this role, I thought it was really important to get feedback from the teachers. So I asked them about your coaching days and the committee days. And I'm just going to put up a couple quotes. Can you see them to read them? To me, that one just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, wow. And the teachers were so appreciative that every time we met and they worked for hours, they left and they said, thank you. I was like, wow. So again, the coaching days, the power of the coaching days are absolutely unbelievable. I can, one of the teachers, and I didn't put the quote in because it was during our debriefing session, but she said it was like 3 days before the December break, and she was driving over to Austin Road, and she's like, I can't believe I'm leaving my students, I can't believe I have to go on this coaching day, I just can't believe this. And then during the debrief, she said, all these thoughts were going through my head, and then once I was in the classroom for 3 minutes, my takeaways were so great that it was worth every minute that I was out of the classroom. She said, not only that, I drove back to Austin Road with my co-teacher, and we sat in the car, and we talked about the lessons and what we were going to do in our classroom. So those coaching days are so powerful. And last but not least, so the teachers, they're a team now. They're not a silo. It's not Austin Road, it's not Lakeview, it's Fulmer. We all work as one right now. The teachers feel it, and the students feel it. If you look at where we are today, if we look at our 6 to 8 curriculum, again, again, even though it took 3 to 6 years to get to this place, is it aligned? Yes, it is aligned. Does it need work? Everything's always going to need work, and we're never, ever going to be done. We're just going to get better. But I can tell you firsthand, Matt Lawrence, I saw Matt and Matt the other day, and they said, oh, we were walking through the halls, and we went into an algebra lesson, and then we walked next door to an algebra lesson, and the teachers could have finished each other's sentences. They were teaching the same lesson at the same time, in the same way. But again, that did not happen overnight. The math committee this year, again, we have a scope and sequence. When we started school, September this year, every teacher had a scope and sequence that they could follow. And all I heard was from all the other teachers, thank you, we know what we're teaching, when we're teaching it, and how many days we're spending on this. So again, that time, it was so important. But the committee, again, we still meet. They're revising the scope and sequence. They're improving it. I think the most important part is the consistency among the three buildings. It's huge. The high school and the middle school, it took 3 to 6 years to align our curriculum. That still needs work, but they're in the same building. Our elementary teachers were in 3 different buildings, so it's very, very, very different. In September, we also gave a common benchmark. All students took the benchmark, the teachers graded the benchmark, we input the data into a Google Sheet, and immediately the data popped. We saw our strengths and our areas of improvement. And the math committee met today, and we looked right at our scope and sequence, and we said, what do we need to improve on? Now we know we have data to help us out 100%. So if you look right there, I hope you can see, that's one of our coaching days. You can't see the teachers. They're in there with the kids. They're not standing around, they're not talking to each other, they're with our students. And the power of that day is just, it's unbelievable. So going forward, what do we need? And what are we going to do? We still need plenty of time. The math committee, we still need to meet. This year, again, we're going to meet at least 7 times, but we're going to constantly revise and improve our scope and sequence. We're going to continue to ensure that we have consistency among the grades in the schools. We're going to look at the data from the benchmark. Again, we're hoping to give another one in March, and then again, continue this process. And we're going to continue our coaching days, but now we're going to make them better. So on Friday, we're going to Lakeview, and although the 2nd and 3rd grade team from the other schools are coming, the entire 2nd grade at Lakeview will be able to take part in that as well. So there's a few things in conclusion that just really stood out for me. Today, for the first time in a very long time, let's say at least 15 years, the 5th grade math team met with the 6th grade math team. We're going to fill in the gaps. It's not going to happen overnight, but both the 5th grade team and the 6th grade team said, thank you, because we don't know when this has ever happened. So they looked at both benchmarks, they had conversation, and now the 5th grade team is bringing that information back tomorrow to their grade level meetings. And again, all anybody says is thank you, which speaks volumes about the teachers that we have here in Mahopac. There was a couple of things that, and let me see if I can remember some of the teacher comments. The students, it's beautiful, I actually just saw something on Twitter before, how we have 21 mathematicians. Our students, especially our K1, 2, 3, are saying, I am a mathematician. Because the way we're working with the math teachers is now going to our students, they're mathematicians. I love math. I want to stay at this station. Can we do math more? That is absolutely huge. So we're making progress. It's one day at a time. But the progress we made from last year to this year with K-5, with your support, huge. And I just can't say thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
last 3 years in the K-5. I'd be remiss though if I didn't first point out the writing committee, many of the members that are here tonight. This morning I sent them an email saying that the meeting was rescheduled. Please do not come. Don't worry about it. And you can see the effect it had on them. And even one member brought her husband, which I don't know what that says about her. But I do want to be able to kind of start with the beginning, because all the work I'm going to talk about today is due to their hard work. None of this would have been possible without the writing committee members and everything they've done over these last 3 years to be able to put this work together. So I'm going to make sure that that's known. So this really all came about in March 2016. We were kind of given the charge of, let's create a new writing program, which is not easy. And I think at that point it was my 5th month in the district as an assistant principal, and these teachers all jumped on board and had the faith. I can't thank them enough for that. They've remained faithful throughout. But one of the charges we had in putting this together was making sure we had consistency, as Sharon mentioned, about having one teacher from each grade from each building, because that hadn't been done before. We wanted to make sure that we were able to have that consistency in the planning and in communication through the 3 schools. So with that work, as we met in our first meeting, we needed to kind of come up with a writing philosophy. What was going to be the driving force behind our work? And we discussed coming up with the writing workshop model, which is really a piece that I brought with me to my former school. And we talked about that this is really the way to be able to kind of engage students and being able to kind of give a short mini lesson, send them off to be able to write, and then have a share. So with that philosophy, then we started to develop units, scope and sequence, that students would be able to write on many different genres that would not only connect horizontally, but more importantly vertically. That we would start to be able to build on the skills, the language, so as students moved up from K to 1 to 2, we were able to put different mini lessons in based on the work they had done previously. And as we were doing this, we knew that there needed to be a lot of supports, not only for the team as they started to do their plan, but also for the teachers that were going to be implementing it. So as we developed these units, we then started to create and find materials that for the implementation would support teachers and support students in this work. As Sharon mentioned with the math, we also created a writing site that looks very similar to the work that's there. We have our scope and sequence, which allows all the teachers K-5 to be able to view the units. So even if you're a teacher on 3rd grade, you know what 2nd grade's doing at that month, and also 4th grade's doing at that month. If we take a quick look here in the curriculum, again, we have our units aligned in order, so if I click here, all the materials that teachers need are listed right here, highlighted by the unit, the month that they'll happen, and you would just click into the folder that you need. And your unit will pop up right here. All of these units is the hard work of the writing committee. I was just there as the facilitator with a smile and just kind of pumping them up every day. They would come to our monthly meetings. But this work is all of their work. And as Sharon mentioned, a lot of it is revised as you go through, because as you do a unit for the first time, you go back and say, you know what, this worked, this didn't work. We need to be able to make these changes. One last part I do want to show is we also have a site here too. As best as I can, I try to get into classrooms and be able to teach some of these lessons to kids. Even though I'm an assistant principal, I never want to lose that teaching touch. So anytime I go into a room, I bring a video camera and I give the kids a little pep talk. So the video camera is only going to be on me. Don't worry about it for you. And so that these are also here as a reference for teachers. My day-to-day job as an assistant principal, so sometimes it's hard to be able to reach all the teachers at all the schools, but this is my way of trying to be able to get there for teachers that might need a reference point to be able to look. So a lot of our current work we've talked about in revising the units. This year we're trying out one-to-one conferencing. And with our new structure, we have a new structure in our committee meetings. We're starting in schools for the first time, so we meet every other month, K to 2, 3 to 5 for a full day. And we're starting in the classrooms where the last 2 meetings we've modeled how to introduce conferencing into your classroom, which is basically after the students are sent off, you work with them one-on-one for 5 to 7 minutes around something they specifically need, and then send them off to be able to practice that. So it's one of our big initiatives, and I firmly believe that to be able to push this work, people need to see it. So we've been starting out in classrooms with kids, being able to do that work so teachers can be able to bring that back to their classrooms and be able to do it as well. In addition, we try to be creative with some of our PDs, so for the first time we're offering a TTT around one-to-one conferencing to be able to try to meet those teachers that aren't part of the committee, to give them an opportunity to be able to see this work being done. So going forward, as Sharon mentioned, with our committees, the work is never done. There's always something new to be able to add, and this committee is going on year 3 now of their commitment to this work. And when we were first starting, they were kind of sitting there going, okay, now they're the experts on their grade, the people that their grade members go to for support when they need it. So when some of that support is when teachers say, like, this unit, like, I need more time. It went a little longer. So when we revise some of the units, we also revise the time we give to each one of them in the scope and sequence. And moving forward, one of our big pieces of our work is going to be analyzing student writing. So as Sharon talked about with her assessments in math, of having unit assessments, we're looking to be able to do the same thing just with our writing pieces. So we can be able to analyze them, not so much for as a grade, but to really be able to see what is our next steps for the students. What are they doing right now that we're saying they got this? And what do we say that we need to be able to attack, whether it's a further unit down the line, or even for next year when we revise our units and say we need to be able to put these lessons in place to be able to make sure our kids do better. The support from the Curriculum Instruction Office has been amazing within this realm. These are some of the purchase of materials that have happened. The read aloud books are essential because anytime you would start a new unit, you want kids to hear the genre first. So that if you're doing a personal narrative, we have 2 or 3 read alouds we're doing within personal narratives, so kids are familiar with the way that type of story goes, so when they go to write it, it's not something that's new to them. We've also purchased K-2 writing folders for 3 to 5 writing notebooks, and this is just a way to be able to organize their writing pieces as they go through. And then the unit of study kits is something that as we were looking to be able to plan our units, the team said we need some extra supports to be able to help us what is out there. And Teachers College, who's kind of the steering force within writing and reading curriculum, put out units of study for each grade level that we originally just purchased for the writing committee, but now every teacher on every grade level has as a support as they try to be able to implement this work. It was a huge purchase on behalf of the district, but I certainly think it's a worthwhile one. It's a support there for where teachers say, like, I don't know what this teaching point means, this lesson. They have a place to be able to go to be able to look at. The kits are very lengthy in the language that's used in there. So one of our hopes is to be able to offer book talks for our K to 5 teachers where they can come together, read over the lessons, have discussions around them, and be able to better understand them, which we hope to be able to do in our spring TTT session. And then finally, the last 2 summers, we've had the opportunity to be able to send some teachers and myself to Teachers College over the summer for a week, which has been some amazing learning and has really changed our work here. And my hope is that we can be able to continue that work because these are teachers that are willing to, they don't get paid for it, they take off a week of their summer, and they come back and say like, wow, I was there from 9 to 3, 5 straight days, and it didn't feel like I was there for a minute. It's such a wonderful learning. You come away overwhelmed, but it's a good overwhelmed, the one where you have a lot that's in your head, like where do I start? And it's a great time too, because in the summer, you don't have to worry about Monday, I'm going back to my class. You have time where you can actually kind of take it in and have a couple weeks to be able to think about how I might implement this work come September. So we certainly hope to be able to have that opportunity again come this summer. So my hope, I think it's been an eye-opener for myself to see the work Sharon's done as a staff developer, K-12, and recently with her last year with the coaching days and the way she's been able to bring grades together, grade 3, grade 4, to be able to look at common assessments, analyze the data. My hope is that we can do that one day for writing. But I don't know if it's me that can be able to do that as an assistant principal, to be pulled out of the building that many times to be able to do that high quality work and great work. So my hope is that we could be able to have, in writing and reading, the Sharon Foreman of ELA, to be able to lead that work, because I think we're at the point now to make that next step. But we need a facilitator and a leader to be able to do that, so that these wonderful teachers that came here on such a cold night can be supported and be able to support our students in this wonderful work. I will say when I first came to the district, and I started visiting classrooms and the word writing came up, you used to hear the and now when you hear the word writing, there's excitement. We're just finishing up our personal narratives right now, or small moments, and you're walking into writing celebrations where kids are celebrating their work that they've done. First graders talking to other first graders about, I love how you added emotion into your story. Those are powerful words for a first grader to be able to use, but even more so to be able to write. And I think our students now are starting to see the power that writing has in being able to voice themselves as they move through the world. So I thank you, and I thank all these wonderful teachers for coming out tonight to support this work. Thank you.
So I want to thank Brian and Sharon not only for being able to describe the journey that both the K-12 Math Committee led by Sharon, the K-5 Writing Committee led by Brian, have gone on, but also thank them for the work that they've done. They've been courageous in facilitating and leading these efforts. I think if I were to summarize or to capture one theme that I heard in both of their descriptions was that it takes time and it takes effort, but it's worth it. So quality work needs the time to be devoted to really grapple with making sure that we're talking about what do we want our students to know and be able to do, codify that, quantify it, test it, revise it, and really grapple with it as educators. So I thank them for that. I will say that I had the opportunity to visit a brand new teacher's classroom this year, a couple days ago, and they were able to articulate and deliver a lesson on small moments. So I think if we can use that as also a tangible aspect of what curriculum alignment allows us to do, is that if I'm a new teacher coming into the district, I can be right on par with the other teachers who have designed this and we're delivering it, and the benefits of the students receive from that are also founded as well. Being fairly new, having a fresh set of eyes going into month 4, if somebody were to ask me where do we go forward as a district with our efforts for curriculum alignment in general, traditional curriculum alignment is normally done through the method of curriculum mapping, where you identify essential understandings, common outcomes of students that you want students to have. You then quantify content, skills, then you measure it through common benchmark assessments. And that's great for the curricular aspect of it. But here at Mahopac, what I truly appreciate is that we have a focus on the child, on the student, on our learner. To do that, I would recommend that while we are also looking at our curriculum, which takes time to align, we at the same time, as a community of learners and as a community of stakeholders who value education for our students, we take a look at what I'm terming as a learner profile. Taking a look at our students at various grade levels. A senior, what do we want a senior from Mahopac High School to look like? What do we want them to know? Not look like in terms of physical appearance, of course, but as far as their skills, their dispositions, their content knowledge, their ability to apply what they've learned. What do we want them to know and be able to do? What does that learner look like? What is an 8th grader leaving Mahopac Middle School, getting ready to enter into the high school? What do they have in terms of their content knowledge? What do they know? What do they know? What are they able to do? What are their dispositions? And then again at the 5th grade level, what do we want our Lakeview, our Fulmer Road, our Austin Road students to know and be able to do? So come together and create learner profiles that can fill in the gaps that not only just focus on the curricular aspects, but on our children as a whole. So that's a suggestion that I have that we take going forward. I also recommend, as Brian said, when we look at where the quality work has been done, it's because there are devoted individuals to sort of marshal the efforts. Brian, I'm glad you brought up at the end that you get into classrooms, because when you mentioned that you just go there and you're a cheerleader, I know that's not all that you're doing. On top of your already packed schedule, Ryan is modeling lessons for teachers, and his efforts are outstanding, but as he said, if we're going to do this with fidelity and in an effective way, I would recommend that we model the fantastic road that Sharon displays in her role as an instructional coach, and we model that in our ELA department as well, so that we can also ensure that our reading and writing programs have the same impact as we're starting to see in our math program. So that's our presentation for you this evening. I thank you for your attention, and I thank our presenters, Brian and Sharon, and their support group, and the teachers doing the work. Thank you for all the work that you're doing on behalf of our students, and I'll yield any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mike. Brian, Sharon, teachers, thank you very, very much for all you do each and every day. And I will share with you that this Board of Education is very much vested in continual teaching and learning for students. They understand it's an ongoing commitment, that it just doesn't happen in 1 year. It's commitment over years and years and years. My job as a superintendent, and I do this a lot, is explain to parents, there are going to be days when your son or daughter's teacher is out of the classroom, but they're out of the classroom to do this quality work, because we want our kids to have the best opportunity to do the best they can do each and every day. And part of our job as educators in the board is to get you to be out there and gaining that knowledge each and every year and continuing to refine that knowledge. So I thank you for what you do. This is powerful stuff that's happening in classrooms in this district. The continuity of K to 5 with the math, with the writing, and then soon to be with the reading. So it doesn't matter whether you're at Lakeview, Fulmer, or Austin. If you're a 2nd grader, this is what the expectations are that all 2nd graders are going to have. A 4th grader, a 5th grader, and it's a tribute to what you do on behalf of myself, and I'm sure Madam President will speak in a minute. Thank you, because this district is beginning to be on that cutting edge, and I thank you for what you do. Brian, Sharon, the proof is in what you're doing, and the testament is the people that are sitting in the audience who care each and every day, and it's a great place to be, and it's going to be a great place to continue to be, so kudos on a great job, everybody. Thank you.
Yes, Sharon, you're a rock star. You always have been, and as a parent, I had a student, 2 children that really were not, they got my math gene, which was 0. You actually helped them to learn math and do really well, and that was the first time my kids came home with great grades and understood it, and that was a testament to you. I'll never forget, I think it was the summer, you were in the library, and I think I was with my children in the library, and I ran into you. And you said, this Common Core, I'm looking for creative ways to teach the students this Common Core. And I left and I said, wow, what a dedicated teacher. Not only is she brilliant and terrific with the students, but she really cares on making it interesting. So you take that passion, and I'm so happy that you can take all of your knowledge and your passion and share it with all our wonderful teachers and help them and give them the support they need. Brian, you've been terrific from the get-go with writing and some of the things that you have done for us when we first started, and you've been on our radar from the board. of your leadership and your commitment and your talent. So we're very grateful to you that you were there to support all our teachers, because they truly are vested in the community and they really needed the support and this board for many years. I've been here with Mrs. Safra, and one of our pet peeves was continuity, consistency, and professional development for our teachers that was lacking. And I guess finally, the pieces of the puzzle are fitting in. We have great leadership. You have the full support of this board, I am sure. We are grateful to each and every one of you just coming out tonight on short notice. We really appreciate that, and we do appreciate everything you do. So thank you so much. Keep doing it, and just upward and onward, and thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for your leadership and support. During the interview process, those were one of the questions we had. This is something we really need and we're lacking. And then Mr. DiCarlo just went on a tangent, and we're like, oh, thank God he agrees with us. So anyway, thank you so much for coming, and thank you, Mr. Tremblay, for your leadership and what you're doing at Mayapack, and we're very happy to have you as well. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Yes, you're in another meeting. It's very busy, Trustee Fafaro. Perfect timing, though. Perfect timing. We're going to do Marvin.
Yes, now we have Harvey Solomon, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, who's going to give us a quick update on our timeline for our capital project. Mr. Solomon?
Good evening. Since we last met at the last board meetings, a lot has been going on. First, keep in mind that everything with regards to the capital project is completely on track and as planned. Since we last met at the October meeting when I gave you the last update, some of the things that have been transpiring is we had our final meeting with the Citizen Advisory Committee, and it went very well. They gave tremendous insight, and they have a lot of history in the community, so it also helped us on that front. The other thing is that the Buildings and Grounds Committee has been having various meetings to narrow down and define the scope of the project. We've been meeting with the architect, we've been meeting with the construction manager, and really over the next couple of months, that is really the focus that we're going to be looking at with respect to the timeline. It's narrowing the scope, it's identifying exactly what we need to prioritize, because the needs are far greater than we can afford. The other thing to keep in mind is that probably within the next couple of weeks, we're looking at a survey for the community, and what we'll be doing is getting their input and feedback with respect to some high level and some insight as to what they may think about this project and their ability to digest what we're proposing. That's really it, and over the next 2.5 months we have a lot of work to do, and that process of defining and narrowing down the scope is really the critical stage. And that will be taking place with respect to the board, with respect to the committees, and the superintendent and myself, as well as the other cabinet. We continue to meet with outside groups. We continue to meet with groups within the school district. So it's an ongoing process. It's dynamic, and it won't stop until the vote. So, are there any questions?
Again, I'll piggyback here a little bit if I can. We also met our publicist, right, over these series of meetings. We probably had, I think, 4 meetings since the last board meeting. We meet pretty regularly. It's a building and ground meeting, but it's really a capital meeting that we've been doing. We've had some good input. The publicist seems to have it on track. We certainly see how we're getting on track. We're going to do a survey. We'll see a lot of different options out there for social media, TV. We're going to try and get this through the community as best we can, right? That we can populate this through the community as seamless as possible, but to get it out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you do. Okay, at this time we will have a motion to approve. Or any comments on agenda items? Any comments? Okay. Motion to approve acceptance of warrants? Second? All in favor? Okay. Motion to approve the minutes for work session October 15th, 2018. Second? All in favor? Thank you. Motion to accept the regular meeting minutes for October 18th, 2018. special meeting for October 23rd, 2018.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And now we will have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, you might have gotten at sometime around 7:30 tonight an email and a voicemail with regards to an early dismissal tomorrow because of the inclement weather that is on the way. And as you know, last month I sent out a reminder because there were 3 Octobers in a row that we had some weather in October to talk about emergency plans and getting ready. As you know, it's never an easy decision as a superintendent of schools, but I make decisions based on the health and safety of the students as well as our staffs. And because of the timing of tomorrow's storm, we wanted to make sure that we got our students home in a safe manner. That's why we are doing our dismissals for the high school at 10:15, for Lakeview and the middle school at 11, and for Fulmer Road and Austin Road at 11:45. So just so that you know, and I'm trying to do that to the best of my ability, because what I hear a lot, and this happened a lot last year, is that the parents can be able to plan ahead of time. It makes it that much more easier. So that happened tonight. Hopefully we won't have any of these, but we never know what's happening with our weather. On Friday, we have a very prestigious award that's being recognized by the New York State Guidance Counselors Association for the state of New York. And I just want to read this to you. The Mahopac High School College Counseling Program, headed by Ron Pallara and Dennis DeSanto, has been awarded the 2018 New York State Outstanding Program, Practice, or Project Award by the New York State School Counselors Association. This award recognizes the best professional practice in the field amongst New York State school districts. Mr. Pallara and Mr. DeSantis have worked together to lead the high school counseling team to present a comprehensive college counseling program for MSH students and families. Some of these highlights in the college counseling program are Financial Aid Night, Mahopac University Night, College Mini Fairs, National Hispanic College Fair, and MHS Sophomore Advisory. On behalf of the Mahopac High School community, we would like to congratulate our counseling team, and especially Mr. DeSanto and Mr. Pallara for their tremendous work for our students and parents. Mr. Pallara and Mr. DeSanto will be attending the conference this coming Friday up in Sagamore Lake and getting this prestigious award. So congratulations to our high school counseling team, especially Mr. Pallara and Mr. DeSanto for this great honor. We'll be acknowledging them at our December board meeting, so congratulations. I also want to thank our PTOs for their generous donation. I'll read this from Michelle Capizzola, our library director here at our Mahopac Library. We would like to extend our thanks to all the PTOs for their generous donation to the Mahopac Public Library in honor of School Board Recognition Week. This contribution, which is matched by the library, enables us to purchase new collection of items for grades K-12, book plates acknowledging all of the PTOs and their dedication to the Mahopac community. As always, thank you for your assistance, and thank you on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees and staff members. So thank you to all our PTOs. A couple of quick updates on behalf of Section 1. They wanted to allow me to thank our community and our athletic facilities for hosting the sectionals 2 weeks ago and the regionals. The dedication of all of our workers and the highlights of our community for allowing the sectionals to take place is something that we are honored to be able to do, and it is noted throughout Section 1 of our hospitality, getting our venue ready, and the great sportsmanship that is shown by our entire community. So I want to thank Section 1 for that notification. As Mr. Sutland mentioned a couple of minutes ago, him and myself have gone out to many meetings. Actually, tonight we met with the music parents, the PTO parents of the high school, and drama parents. We had a great interaction with them. I have gone to almost all of our faculties and met with them. I'm going to be meeting with our middle school students and our high school students over the next couple of weeks and getting their input on our capital project. And last but not least, on behalf of myself and I know the Board of Education, we want to extend a very happy Thanksgiving to all of our families next week. As families get together to celebrate Thanksgiving, we wish everybody the best and enjoy your families and give thanks to what we have here in our community in each and every day, and thankful for what we're able to do here in Mayapack. Madam Madam President, that's my thing. I know I didn't devote you. Just quickly, as I see Mr. Pozabilski in the back, nightly at every night at 8 o'clock, we're airing our grade 3 to 8 testing program that myself and Mr. Trombley did a week and a half ago. We had a nice handful of parents that were here. I really encourage any parent grade 3 to 8 to take a look at that presentation that we did. It gives you an update on the grade 3 to 8 testing and statewide things that are going on. So please take a look at that. That's on our channel 22 for Comcast and channel 46 for Verizon. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And also, congratulations to our great counselors at the high school. The board really wants to thank them. They're on the front lines every day, and they really work so hard to help our students. So, extra shout out and kudos, and we look forward to seeing them next month. At this time, we have a couple. I think we have 1 or 2 committee reports. Trustee Fafaro, do you have anything other than what Mr. Soltman said? Okay. Then we'll have the technology report. Trustee O'Connor?
Thank you. On November 5th, sorry, I got the good mic this time. On November 5th, the Technology Committee met here at the Fall School. Present were Dr. Stoll, Mr. Tremblay, Trustee Fafaro, and myself. And just a brief overview of the meeting, we discussed the platform, which is called Access for All, which basically means, Greg, I hope I get this right, but pretty much access for everybody, whether it's somebody that does not normally use technology, but it basically reaches each and every student and each and every educator and provides the learning capabilities offered by technology to everybody in the school district. So basically, it's not just a few that get it, everybody has access to the technology. We discussed technology integration, professional development, security and protection, and then we discussed the next phase of the Smart School Bond Act, which will be incorporated within the next year and then integrated into part of the bond project that's coming up as well. So at the conclusion of the meeting, both Trustee Fafaro and myself pledged our continued support, and I'm sure the board's support for the technology enhancements that you guys have put forth, and the department has done a great job in getting there, and pretty much every time that I meet, I'm more and more impressed with how far the district's come in such a short time, so you have our continued support, and thank you.
Thank you, Trustee O'Connor. And thank you to Dr. Stoll and Mr. Tremblay and Technology. Thank you for all that you do, so thank you. Okay, this time we have the consent agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda? Second? All in favor? Thank you. Resident comments. Do we have any resident comments this evening? Please come up and state your name. And look at the camera. This is your moment. You look perfect.
Good evening, how are you doing tonight?
Good evening.
My name is Freddie Sanchez. I coach I coach U12 in 2007 soccer for the Travelers from Mayapack MSA. I've been coaching about 14 years old. The other coach unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, Coach Chris Provenzano. Currently we have 16 boys on our team, and I know of other boys that aren't on our team because they play for other clubs, such as Somers, Colombo, some are in Carmel. We're interested in establishing a modified team for the boys, but all our boys are in the 6th grade right now, and as an old Arlington student, we started modified soccer in 7th and a similar situation where a lot of boys came from Beekman, Grange, Poughkeepsie, and we got to play together and created kind of like a rhythm for when we got to the JV varsity levels, and that's why I feel Arlington has so many awards and state championships. But with that said, we do have a couple questions. What's the process and timeline to consider a modified soccer team for the 2019-2020 schedule or school year? Who would be the final decision maker, and what information would that decision maker need to implement the program in time for that school year, 2019-2020?
So I can speak to that. So as a part of some discussions that we had last year with the board, I had asked Mr. Augusta to provide for me in this budget cycle, looking at reinstituting modified sports, which we have not had for many, many, many years because of budget implications and the like. So as a part of the budget process, Mr. Augusta has begun to do that. He will present that to me, and then I will then present that to the board along with the work of Mr. Sotland with regards to putting back modified sports at Mahopac Middle School. And so basically what happens is this, as a part of the budget process, it will go before the board. The board then will make a decision for either the modified sports to stay in or stay out. If it does stay in and the budget passes, then it will become a part of the 2019-2020 interscholastic sports program. At which point in time, those teams will therefore need coaches, to support the teams. Mr. Augusta then would go through a hiring process, people would apply for it, and then we would put those coaches into place, and then we would have teams that would take place in the fall season, the winter season, as well as the spring season.
Okay, excellent. I know there is a girls modified team though right now.
Yeah, so to speak to that, because there's a lot of sometimes confusion, like why are there some girls teams and not boys teams? So although I wasn't here, there was some Title IX compliance issues that had to be fulfilled by the district because of the lack of girls' participation in girls' teams. And so as a part of that compliance factor, you will see some girls' teams that may be modified that not the boys' teams.
That's the one my son talked about.
Yeah.
It's like, I always hear about the girls, but I never hear
Right,
about the boys.
exactly. Yeah. So, and I encourage you, because a couple of parents have come up over the last couple of months to talk about it. So when we do go into the budget phase and the budget is presented and modified sports is there, it would be really important for those parents who are interested in it to make sure that their voices are heard and they come to those budget meetings and explain about the why it would be important to reinstitute modified sports at Mahopac Middle School.
Excellent. Thank you for
You're
your time.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your
Mr.
question.
Sanchez.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Any other resident comments? No? Okay.
Hi, my name is Cristian. I'm here to discuss a little about the bus program. I know that you're still having problems with the busing program, we're splitting it up. But the one question I have is, my daughter's in middle school right now, and from talking to her and her friends and some of the parents, most of the kids don't want to stay after school for the after-school help or for programs because of the late bus. I believe there's only 4 late buses, and the kids are on the bus for a long time. And I'm wondering, is there a way that the board can look into it that if we can expand the late bus, like add more late buses, 5 or 6 or something like that, or at least reach out to the other parents, or somehow put it out there where, from what like I said, I talked to her friends, a lot of these kids don't stay for after-school help. These teachers are offering after-school help, whether it's just because the test is coming up or something like that. And, I'm looking at the way that they did this K through 12, I mean, it looks like the school district's definitely trying to help these kids, but, there might be one area where they can help them. Just adding 2 buses on, so these kids are able to get home within maybe 45 minutes of like the after-school program, or the after-school help, instead of being an hour and 15 or something like that.
So that is definitely something, if you call me up, we can discuss. It's the first I'm hearing of it. So it's important that I know so that we can further address it. So for years, it's always been the 4 quadrants of the community, whether it's been the middle school or the high school. In almost every district, you can't go door to door. it would take hours and hours. So there are usually spots within that, but I'd love to have a conversation with you, and I can also then meet with Mr. Casacria and speak to the kids about that, and then we can look at, see specifically what groups of kids and where they're specifically located, and we'll see what we might be able to do. So if you can call me, and maybe we can have that conversation and get together, that'd be great.
Sure, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for bringing it to my attention. I appreciate it.
And I think we could talk about that in Transportation Committee. Trustee Simone? Make sure you're still up, the camera's still rolling. Okay, so final resident comments? Okay. Before we leave and we close the meeting, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for coming out and wishing the community a very happy Thanksgiving. And we're very thankful for everything that we have in our new superintendent and our board members, community, and family. In lieu of that, tomorrow is Mr. DeCarlo's birthday. And he does not know we have a cake outside for everyone to enjoy. So please join us in singing him a very big happy birthday and some refreshments.
I count backwards at this age, I don't count forward.
No, every there's a gift. You have to think positive. So a motion to close? Second? All in favor? Let us see cake. Thank you.